Lloyd Vance helping us recap the NFL draft. Does a great job. Contributing writer at our NFL network. Joins us for a couple moments. What's going on, pal?
Doing great. Sounds like you're fired up, man.
No pun intended. Yeah, I didn't fire anything up. No joints here.
Listen,
here's the problem. Let's get to the Tunsil situation. Because whether his stepfather leaks something or not, it certainly it paints a bad picture. It puts the kid in a bad light. But nobody knows this kid from Adam. So to make the declaration or distinction, he's going to turn into another Aaron Hernandez or this or that, I think it's harsh. So in that regard, I certainly have to defend the kid. But he didn't help his cause. I mean, you recall a player dropping that fast?
Yeah, it's going to happen. And we know last year Randy Gregory, it happened to him. He had the tested combine, and it came out. And you have Warren Sapp back in the day who fell back a couple spots. But in the end, in the National Football League, when you have talent, especially at the premium positions, left tackle, quarterback, stud receiver, you're going to get opportunities. So hopefully this young man learned a valuable lesson. And as you said, the trolls are out there, and someone's always out to get you. But we have to wait and see what this kid's going to become. I know Miami's very excited to get him. Brandon Albert getting very old at the tackle position for the Dolphins.
And the one thing, too, to remember, too, it's not like, okay, this video came out and all of a sudden it hit the fan and everyone starts scrambling. Come on, the NFL, you do your due diligence with these scouts and these organizations and the head coaches and the owners. So they knew this was out there. They knew. The problem is when you got a TV and us in the media and we have an opportunity, we blow it up, right? We exaggerate. I still think he's going to be a good player. Let's move on. I mean, no surprise here with Goff or Carson Wentz. I think at the end of the day, the Philadelphia Eagles got exactly who they wanted. Let me get your thoughts overall on Wentz and if you believe he's going to be a solid pro. And I know it's very early to tell. And then I'll get your thoughts on Sam Bradford. But just initial reaction with the Eagles drafting a franchise quarterback.
Sure. And Q, you and I have talked several times after the draft, 2 to 3 years in all these picks. But in looking at the initial tape of this guy, I went back and looked at a lot of his games from last year. He is a leadership type of player. He's out there leading his team, did very well at the Senior Bowl. I talked to some people that were there and had an opportunity to talk with him, led the huddle in terms of the bigger prospects from the bigger school. He was a guy that was leading these guys. I mean, he's squeaky clean. And the 40 on the Wonderlic, his ability to speak to the media, just seems like the right type of kid. But we got to wait and see if this is a great fit for him. Obviously, Howie Roseman has created a situation by signing Bradford and giving that money that now you have Wentz there, who's going to be the quarterback. And is Bradford going to come in? But I think right now the team is built around Wentz, and they're going to look to 2 to 3 years down the road where they can be a championship-level type team.
From what you've seen out of Wentz, is he a quarterback that you would deem can make all the throws, or we just haven't seen enough of him in college?
Well, when I watched him, and one scout I talked to compared him right away to Ben Roethlisberger coming out of college, a guy that can put on some weight, can make all the throws, but also can move, even though he's a 6'5" type of guy, move around the pocket. The good thing that I did see from him, he worked from under center in college, and that's a big thing for a lot of these college quarterbacks, like we saw Paxton Lynch. Mm-hmm. He never took a snap from under center, so he has the ability to work from under center, see the defense, and then make some changes at the line of scrimmage. That's only going to be a plus for him. So Doug Peterson, a former quarterback, is going to try to coach this kid up and get him ready from 1AA to the NFL. But let's not mince words here. That is a huge jump, and we're going to see if he's able to adapt to the speed of the game.
What happens now with Sam Bradford? They're not trading him. They're not, and by all accounts, he's not returning any calls, any text messages. We had Marcus Hayes on yesterday during the air, and he said, look, they knew full well before signing that contract that they were going to draft a quarterback. It is a bad look from players that you speak to or people within the NFL or close to the organization. What's the sentiment right now regarding Sam Bradford? Because if you asked me, I got the sense that the Eagles are not happy with this, that Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman are seething, that this guy is not, he's just not being the team player.
Yeah, and they're not happy about it. Let's face it. And whenever you're talking about potential trade, you got to have somebody on the other side that's willing to take him. And let's face it, he's not done enough in the NFL to justify all the money that he's getting. And a lot of general managers, personnel people around the league just don't think he's worth it. And now he steps out kind of a malcontent, not ready to be a team player. And let's face it, the Eagles paid him a ton of money, and he's under contract. So he should come in my opinion, keep his mouth shut, and just be a good soldier, collect the money like he's always done throughout his career, gotten big money. And, who is he to dictate terms? So the team's not happy with him, and he's got to see where he is. But let's face it, they're still very early in the process. I know a lot of people want to get rid of him right away. It's only April, May right now, and I don't think by September he'll be on this roster.
You think he gets moved?
They're going to try to find a place for him, and let's remember the key thing is going to be injuries. So you always see somebody get hurt around the start of training camp, within training camp, and maybe that might help give some leverage to the Eagles. But right now they don't have any leverage. You would hope it doesn't get to a situation where they just outright release him like they did last year with Evan Mathis. I know that was Chip Kelly, but that does happen as well. But they've paid him a lot of money, $11 million signing bonus, and then they'd have to eat that, and that would not be a good look for their front office.
Look, if Jeffrey Lurie turns around and eats that $11 million and they trade him for a fourth-round pick, that to me tells you all you need to know. They wanted to get him out. And you mentioned one thing. When we kind of go around the league, I'll bring it back up. I'll just put it in the back of my mind. Let me get your thoughts on a couple of the NFC East teams. Elliott, the running back from Ohio State. My God, Ohio State had, 6-7 players go so early. Ohio State, the running back Ezekiel Elliott to Dallas. To me, look, you got an offensive line in their prime. You want to take some pressure off an aging quarterback. You run the football. How about this pick for the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, it's a great pick, Q. And I really thought that they did a nice job. They already got the offensive line in place with Taylor and Zach Martin and the rest of those guys up front. They needed a quality runner. Let's face it, they missed DeMarco Murray a lot last year. Not per se his running ability, but his blitz pickup. Tony Romo got hit a lot, gets hit by the Eagles, and that just set the stage for that broken collarbone throughout the season. So they're going to try to keep him healthy by moving the chains and also a guy that can pick up the blitz. So I thought that was a great pick. Ezekiel Elliott, a guy that can catch the ball as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if his game can equate to the NFL like it's done in college. I mean, at times he was unstoppable. I think about that national championship game where he just took over.
And the Giants were certainly looking at a couple players, Miles Jack, Tunsil, Ramsey, Stanley, Buckner, and then you saw what Tennessee did with the trade. Chicago from Tampa Bay, they got Floyd, the linebacker out of Georgia. That leaves it open for Eli Apple, the cornerback from said mentioned Ohio State. Look, I don't have a problem with the pick. I think they addressed a need, and according to Jerry Reese, that's kind of the player that they coveted a little more from the kid from Florida State. But what's the scouting report on Apple?
Yeah, the thing with Eli Apple is he's a guy that's a physical corner, and his game has got to equate to the National Football League. As you said, they've been in need of help in that secondary. Gave up a ton of big plays last year. They brought in Jenkins to help them, and hopefully he can help out. But they lost Amukamara to injury, and then he went via free agency. So he's going to come in there trying to get two shutdown guys because, let's face it, they got to face Dez Bryant. They got to face Deshaun Jackson. And this is a guy that's going to come in, and Spagnuolo is going to be able to use him in a variety of ways. Yes, he was kind of a consolation prize because they wanted Floyd and some other guys that you said. But in the end, I think he's a quality player, and we just got to see if he fits the scheme.
And as we look at kind of round everything out, well, Houston was able to get that trade. They got Fuller from Washington. Did anything else stand out in the first round, or any surprise to you? Maybe Bosa going early as he did. And then I want to get your thoughts on a couple of NFL news and notes.
Sure. Bosa, that was a total surprise to me because, let's face it, they're going to play 3-4 with the Chargers, and he's a hand-in-the-dirt 4-3 kind of guy. So I don't know if he's going to be able to stand up and be able to cover and also come off the edge without putting his hand in the ground on all three downs. Similar to what Vinny Curry went through when he was running the Eagles 3-4. So we're going to have to wait and see there. One of the biggest moves that I thought was Arizona taking Robert Nkemdiche. That was a great pitch for them, a guy that I think is going to fit in their scheme. Bruce Arians, a tough disciplinarian coach, already have Teron Matthew on the squad, guys that can help direct him and lead him in the right direction. So I think that was a great pick for him. And let's not forget about what the Browns did. We know they already traded with the Eagles, but they moved back a couple times, got a boatload of picks, and then they get Corey Coleman, a guy who's just a pure burner. that's going to help that offense.
Let's look at the Jets for a moment and Fitzpatrick. And from what I was told, you can kind of squash the notion that he wants to retire. The timetable, again, there's an internal clock within the Jets organization. You know, as crazy as it sounds, it actually might benefit Fitzpatrick to just stretch this out, because eventually a quarterback's going to go down with some type of injury, and there all of a sudden his stock, the leverage, he's going to have more of an opportunity. It's goofy to say that, but he's 33. He doesn't need to be at OTAs. I know the Jets want him back. He wants to go back with the Jets, but they need to find that happy medium. How's it going to play out in New York with Fitzpatrick? And oh no, by the way, because Denver drafts Paxton Lynch last night too, so.
Right, and we talked about landing spots for Bradford. The same kind of thing with Fitzpatrick. There's just not a big market out there left for quarterbacks. Everybody's pretty much in place. You see Hoyer trying to get a job after he's been cut by the Texans, and what I see with Fitzpatrick is they're about $3 to $4 million apart in terms of the salary that the Jets want to give him and what Fitzpatrick's willing to take. I think it is a whole smokescreen. I'm not going to play football anymore. He and his agent got to kind of sit down with the team, with Woody Johnson, who's the owner there, and kind of figure out where they want to structure this contract. I think it will get done, and he will be the Jets quarterback. Because let's face it, they don't want Geno Smith to be their starter going into the season. They're just not into him. And I do think they're bringing a young arm, though, that can compete probably for that second, third spot.
We've got about 30 seconds before we get out of here. And, of course, the decision, that Brady suspension, they reverse it. Upheld. He's going to serve 4 games to start the season. I mean, can we kind of put this in the back burner? Are we past this? I mean, I almost get the sense that Brady's going to fight this tooth and nail, where at this stage of the game, just eat the bad medicine and just take it.
Yeah, it's going to be something they're going to keep fighting over. But in the end, the NFL has more money to pay legal fees, and how much does the NFLPA want to keep fighting this thing? Tom Brady, I think in the end, maybe they're going to try for one last injunction or stay, so that he can play during his appeal. We'll see if that turns up. But right now, these other courts are definitely siding with the National Football League, and he may have to sit some out. But I think that will add fuel to Belichick's fire. You know how they are when people come down on him. Yeah,
no, listen, you're absolutely right. I agree 100%. Hey, great stuff. Glad we caught up. We'll talk next week. We'll kind of take everything in with the draft. I appreciate the insight, pal.
All right, thanks for having me on.
All right, you got it. Lloyd Vance does a great job covering the NFL.